Hello Internet, welcome back to the Blade Showcase for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and today we're going to be looking at a very anticipated blade. This is going to be Godfrey. Godfrey is the kind of blade that's very divisive amongst the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 players, in that some people think that he needs a little bit more improvements to really stand out, and other people think that he shines very well on his own. I tend to side with the latter on this one, just due to the fact that while it may seem that there's a bit of an identity crisis here, whether or not he's trying to be an attacker or as a tank, he actually can perform both roles quite admirably on the fly. He's a very versatile kind of blade, and I know I've said many complaints about the Shield Hammer class overall, being that they could use a little bit more of an improvement. Godfrey would definitely be able to stand to take some improvement, sure, but he still works very, very well as he is today. So, when we look at the Affinity Chart, the really funny thing that a lot of people like to complain about is that you can't really make much use of his field skill. He doesn't have Ice Mastery or any sort of other field skill that would be useful overall. It's mainly just for his main quest. That being said though, let's look at his passives. There's going to be Got the Guts. Now, this is very interesting because it reduces damage by 36%. If it were just a little bit higher, I would totally love to see it on a tank, but if you were to use Godfrey as sort of an off-tank, or as a primarily a tanky attacker, then this is actually a pretty good use overall, just due to the fact that if you're not thinking of taking too much of the aggro overall, and you need to just wait out just those extra moments before the heal comes in, this can really help out in clutch situations. As well, there is going to be Fierce Fervor. This is actually quite nice. In similar ways to Zenobia, you get the increased damage to higher levels enemies. Now, the 80% might not seem like much, but it is just good damage overall, especially if you are planning on using him against the super bosses, which are guaranteed to be higher level than you anyway. And there's going to be Lights of Justice. Personally, I'm not a very big fan of this one, but that's okay, I don't use it too often, just because, again, the way the healing works in Xenoblade Chronicles, you're not going to be finding yourself at 30% or less. Even if you're soloing bosses, this unfortunately will not be able to save you very often, just due to the fact that if you're at low HP, there's a good chance that your enemies will be able to just finish you off much quicker than the 1.4 per second that this passive provides. Now, having a look at the specials, they're all fairly good overall. Again, just as Blizzard, the same complaint that I've had many times. If you're trying to use it in conjunction with this, it could work technically, but yeah, you have that, and then while the invincibility frames are going off, you still get the additional heal. That being said though, you won't be using this as often, but if you can get good use of it, it's quite nice. There's also Cold Judgment and Tough Break. Now, Cold Judgment is pretty nice if you have Godfrey on Morag, due to the fact that her Shield Hammer moveset comes with a topple. This means that you can just immediately follow it up with her driver art that does bonus damage to toppled enemies, and then follow it up with a Cold Judgment. And then there is Tough Break. This is going to be very useful, again, when you're playing as a tank. You want to have people be attacking you anyway, so this is essentially just a free 100% damage overall. Fairly solid stuff, and in comparison to the other Shield Hammers, he also has a nice 2 slots to work with, and this is going to be block rate ups 5 and ultimate shield. As you can see over there, he has a 69% chance to block things, and that's a 69% chance to completely mitigate all damage. Very, very useful stuff. And you're going to see his blade arts plus, pretty obvious, self-explanatory, draw aggro. This is what he comes with, and he makes good use of it overall. We are also currently using the dilation chip for his his core chip. This means that this will give him the highest block rate possible, as you can see on the screen right now. In terms of his driver, we're going to be using Rex, mainly just for orb building purposes primarily, but we're going to be using the Char-Grilled Grumbird and the Annals of Adam, just so we can increase the damage of specials and recharge our arts. For the accessories we're going to be using today, we're going to use the tried and true World Tree Drop Overclocking Bangle combo. Now, again, like I said earlier, Godfrey can function quite well as an attacker in comparison to most of the other Shield Hammers, with the exception of probably Finch, who has the nice little RNG reset cooldown one. Godfrey already has the bonus 80% damage for fighting against bosses or higher leveled enemies, so this can be a nice thing to do in a situation like that. Not to mention that while we're busy building up World Tree Drop stacks, sometimes we might find that our allies are taking the aggro away from us. That's fine, because we have all the time in the world to gain it back, and then when we revive them, all the aggro is going to be on us. So, we're going to go ahead, cut the video, and I'll see you guys at the demonstration. Okay, so here we are at Temperantia. We're going to be fighting against Pernicious Benf. I've said this many times before. One of the most annoying super bosses in the game due to the fact that he has some really annoying crowd control effects that seem to have little to no cooldown. But because we are playing as Godfrey, and we have a 69% block chance, we're actually going to be able to make use of damage immunity to actually prevent most of those attacks from even hitting us in the first place. So what's going to happen right now is we're going to try to build up an orb. We're going to go for the chain attack for this battle, but I want to make sure that I can at least be from the side while we're getting things ready. So here we go, everyone's ready right now, and we're going to go ahead and start counting. That was 2, 3, 4, count along with me if you get bored, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what's going to happen here though is that, like, while this is all happening, the aggro is going to be on the other teammates. When that happens though, again, we're going to be able to pick up the aggro from where we left off if they do end up dying. Usually by the time I'm done getting my stacks, they should essentially be done at this point. So here we go. Actually, I kind of lost count while I was explaining it. Didn't want the total counting game because you guys are here for the commentary, aren't you? But that's what's going to be happening though. If people fall, fine, but if not, we shouldn't have any problems whatsoever getting that aggro back. So we're going to go ahead and start right now. And right from the get-go, the Poison Breath kicks in, meaning we have quite a few things to do on our way to getting them. So I'm going to quickly run over to them while the special is going off. General rule of thumb is that whenever you do find yourself in scenarios like this, it does help to just let off the special and then run across the street, run across the entire stage. So again, that Berserker Fang also has some nice telekinesis hitboxes going on. It's always fun when that happens. It feels like it's never my fault. And we're going to go ahead and start getting into the cancel. So this is one of the funny things about this fight though, is like we have some nice aggro to go along with it. We have the damage to help maintain the aggro as well. But essentially from this point onward though, it's just a matter of trying to build up the orbs as safely as we can. If this guy's going to keep knocking me around, it might be difficult to do that, but hopefully this should work in our favor. You see Zeke is pretty low on health right now, but I'm okay with that. And off we go. We're going to try to do our best to cancel everything, and we have Nia as the healer right now, so Zeke should be fine. That being said, he's also using Herald, and Herald gives him some HP for every auto attack he does. So off we go. Let's see, I see Nia moving around, trying to... Is she going to try to get the HP push? I hope not. I would like to very much have this entire space to myself. Alright, and thanks to the Grumbird, we're just going to go ahead and skip. We got hit by the Poison Breath, which is unfortunate. Like, it's really strange because I find that as the fight drags on more and more, he kind of upends the block chance, this Pernicious Benf, and gets past my attacks at the worst possible times. So that's one of the complaints that I had about Shield Hammers though, is that you are reliant on this RNG to prevent yourself from getting hit, but then the thing is though, like the chance is fairly low on situations where you really, really want it to be guaranteed, which is why I tend to enjoy Poppy Alpha more as a block tank, which is very similar. Okay, so what's gonna happen now? I'm gonna stay this entire battle actually. I'm gonna stay for this entire battle as this character, as Godfrey. Like, we have the one orb, and I'm happy with that. And so I don't think I can get a topple. No, I can't. Yeah, I'd rather have the damage immunity before I try anything else. Oh wait, no, let's switch. Get the topple. Get the topple. Go. Oh man. Ah, I was late. I was too far away. Okay, that's gonna be some issues. So what's gonna happen now is we're gonna have an Electrifier Storm coming up, isn't it? Okay, so Electrifier Storm, that's gonna be our Wind Orb. And the thing is though, even though everyone died, I actually did manage to lose the aggro, which is my mistake. If I'd stayed as Godfrey a little bit longer, and I just continued using my rotations as usual, we wouldn't have had this problem. But that's alright though, it's just one of those things you have to kind of deal with. And he's at very low health right now too, like all that damage that we've built up from this attack, from this overclocking bangle build is quite nice. So that's kind of the thing about Godfrey though, is that he can function as a tank, but it's not really a question of him having an identity crisis and not being able to decide between one or the other. It's more like he can function both at the same time. It's just that when you need him to act as the tank, such as right now, where it's just me and Nia, if you need him to act as a tank, he can, but then if you need him to act as an attacker, which can also be when you're tanking, then he can do that as well. So it's not really an identity crisis so much as him using both roles as the situation calls for. Because in a situation like Pernicious Benth, you want this fight to be done, but you also want to be reliably protected. So I'm going to try to just lead Benth along. How about we I'm gonna fill this up. Cancel out that Beast Train right in time with a nice level 4 combo. And that should build up a good amount of special for us. Yeah, well, I have to wait for him to have the yellow before I can even start thinking about the chain attack. So here we go. So now we're going to start building up our aggro, just building up as usual. We're going to use the freeze, the level 1 attack, and just kind of spam this all the way until we have our full. So again, yeah, we did get hit by that, but since we were doing the special, we got a bit of a mitigation. But since yeah, that ultimate shield didn't kick in, so it could have been a 100% mitigation, but that's okay. And this is basically going to be the fight, actually. Like, we have an ice type and a couple of wind types. It's just a matter of just letting this entire cycle do its process. So here's going to be Boreas next. And we also have a Herald on our team. It's S+ Herald, but even at like just a regular Herald, it would still do a substantial amount of damage because she's amazing during chain attacks. Look at all this damage. Yikes. So yeah, that's going to be the burst. So that's pretty much curtains for this boss fight, though. Have Godfrey do some additional damage, and that would basically be it. The thing about Godfrey, what also gives him an edge over the other tanks, and why you would pick him, is that he is an ice type. I know that Poppy QT is also an ice type. Oh, sorry, Poppy QT Pie is also an ice type, technically. But the thing is, though, in situations where you don't even have that yet, then I think this would be more beneficial, due to the fact that you can do things like you can build dark and earth orbs, you can build ice orbs, obviously, through the, flame bolt combo. Very, very good stuff overall, and that's kind of the thing about Godfrey, though, is that I think many of the complaints circulating around him, which are very understandable complaints, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to call people out or anything like that, but I think the main issue with Godfrey is that if you try to get him to specialize in one role, he kind of does fall short. Like, if you try to get him as a tank, you'll actually notice that I could still lose aggro even though everyone died. I could still not do substantial amounts of damage. But the thing is, though, if you can just focus on that damage and then still have a tanking kind of mindset with him, you'll actually have a really great time, because he's just such a versatile shield hammer blade in what's otherwise a very bread and butter, cookie cutter, flowchart kind of class, which is the shield hammers. So yeah, that's Godfrey, everyone. Very, very fun blade overall, very interesting. One of the first blades that I've ever gotten, and really cool design and story to go along with it. Like, it's a very interesting pick for people that want to get into tanking, because again, why restrict yourself to being a tank when you can also be an attacker? So yeah, that would be the Godfrey showcase, and guys, thanks very, very much for joining me today, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.